Alex Pereira is literally the scariest striker on earth.
Hey, what's up guys? It is CJ Trades with another video, and today we're going back to the UFC, talking about UFC 295 taking place this Saturday, November 11th at Madison Square Garden, where we're going to see two title fights, but the headliner is Pereira versus Procházka. So let's get into it.
Oh, got it, that's it. Oh, he's out, heavyweight champion.
And the first fight on the main card is a featherweight matchup between Diego No Regrets Lopes and Pat the White Sabbath Sabatini, and both of these guys are BJJ guys who have on impressive runs in the UFC recently, where Lopes just came off of a submission win and Sabatini also came off a submission win, and neither of these guys are ranked, but Lopes is 1-1 in the UFC and Sabatini is 5-1 in the UFC, where Lopes is 5 years younger, only 28, a lot of potential, and a lot of guys see Lopes as an up-and-coming prospect in the featherweight division, whereas Sabatini is a guy that really needs to break into the rankings. It's kind of now or never for him, and that goes into my main notes, where Lopes has to prove he's the real deal. He's here to stay. Sabatini's got to break into the rankings, and Lopes has shown his BJJ against lesser opponents, but now it's time to submit a BJJ black belt. Sabatini is a black belt, and he's not going to be fighting his typical opponent. Lopes is a great BJJ practitioner. It's going to be a great grappling match between the two of them, and we could even see Sabatini win a little bit of stand-up work here, but I think it's going to be important for Sabatini to stay in control. Don't let the young guy get the advantage and get the excitement of the match. I think Sabatini should show his experience, whereas Lopes needs to get another win in the UFC. He is a slight underdog, and it's going to be a very close matchup. And our second matchup on the main card is a lightweight bout between the American Matt Steamroller Frevola versus the Frenchman Benoit God of War Saint-Denis. And Frevola is the 14th ranked lightweight, where Saint-Denis still is unranked, but only 27 compared to Frevola's 33. And Saint-Denis has 4 UFC wins, where Frevola has 5, but has taken some losses in the process. But both of these guys are vets, where Frevola has been wrestling for a long time now, and Saint-Denis is breaking into the UFC in the lightweight mold. But this is a huge fight for two guys that really want to move up the lightweight rankings into a very, very tough division at the moment. Steamroller, I think he's got to crack Saint-Denis' chin. He has a super tough chin, one of the best of all the lightweights, honestly. I would say that he doesn't get knocked down often. Frevola, I know he wants to wrestle, but I think he's going to try and stand and bang and try and get a lucky shot and knock him down. Where Saint-Denis wants to extend that winning streak. He's on a little run right now in the UFC, and he can extend this run. He'll move into the ranked fighters, and I think this would be a great spot to submit a ranked fighter. Frevola is a great wrestler, but not exactly well known for grappling and submission defense. But on the other hand, Frevola can be the first to finish Saint-Denis, where his chin has been so good, no one's been able to stop him. And we could also see him on the ground, but I think standing up is going to be the sweet spot for the steamroller Frevola. And it's going to be huge for both guys to move up their rankings, obviously, as they get older, to try and move up these rankings and fight for a belt. And Frevola is going to come in as a slight underdog at 185 to Saint-Denis 225. And the third fight on the card is the first women's matchup that I've gone over, a strawweight bout between the number 5 ranked strawweight Jessica Bachestaka, which I think means pile driver, Andrade, versus Mackenzie, not really Brazilian, Dern. And this is two Brazilians, sorta, matching up against each other. Both know BJJ, but Andrade is more of a striker, with a 15-10 record in the UFC, taking so many losses in her UFC career, but so many great wins, a ton of experience against Mackenzie Dern, who's the 7th ranked fighter, and 8-3, a little bit younger, a little bit more of a prospect, and someone who's going to try and move up the rankings. But Andrade is on a 3-fight losing streak, not great for her career. She's getting a little bit older, still not too old in terms of UFC standards, so it's huge for her to pick up a win here, where Dern, I think, should be showing off her BJJ skills against a Brazilian and finally move up these rankings. Andrade is still ranked ahead of her, and Andrade needs to get back up these rankings. She's been falling in her losses, and I think Dern, she should just get to the ground, submit Andrade, and get it over with. Andrade is more than capable on the ground, but I think she's going to try and stand up and get something lucky, a little flash KO, or just knock her down in a fast way. So I think Dern should get to the ground, win the fight, and move on. And now the first title fight, which is for the vacant heavyweight spot after John Jones' injury, and this is a replacement fight from the Stipe vs. Jones fight, but it is the Russian Sergey Pavlov's dog Pavlovich versus the Englishman Tom Two Beers Aspinall. And this is going to be a huge fight between the number 2 and the number 4 ranked fighter, obviously for the interim belt because of Jones's injury tearing his pec last month. But this is a weird title fight because it is for the belt, there's no doubt about that, but it is Jones's belt to get back when he is healthy, so they're really only having it for a few months, and Jones probably won't fight either of them for it, but these are two 6-1 UFC fighters. Pavlovich is on a 5-0 run, and Aspinall had a tough run of luck when he had a brutal knee injury to Curtis Blades, someone that Pavlovich steamrolled and ran over, but he just came back and had a dominant win over Pereira that proved he's healthy, he's back, and he's here to stay. And I think that Pavlovich should extend his 4-year winning streak. He's been on a great run, only losing to Overeem. And then I think Aspinall should aim for the submission, get on the ground, avoid the taller Pavlovich, and I think Pavlovich is going to try and keep Aspinall outside of his reach. He's taller, he has a longer reach, and he can do some damage. Obviously, they're heavyweights, one punch can change the entire fight. So I think Pavlovich is going to try and keep him outside, be an outside fighter, and try and knock him out on the feet. Whereas I think Aspinall shouldn't mess around with the power from Pavlovich. I think get it down, show off your wrestling and your grappling. He is a striker, but he still has it, and take the heavyweight belt without getting hurt. And these guys are both even favorites at 115. And now the main event, what you've all been waiting for, a light heavyweight title fight for the vacant light heavyweight spot after Jamal Hill tore his Achilles and gave up the belt, between Alex Poatan Pereira versus Jiri BJP Procházka. And obviously the number 1 versus the number 3 ranked fighters fighting for the open belt. This is going to be a huge fight. If Pereira can move up after dominating Adesanya, dominating Strickland, can move up to light heavyweight and take the belt after being a glory kickboxer for so long, it would be so impressive. And then Jiri, both of these guys are new to the UFC. They joined in the last 3 years, and now they're fighting for a belt, and this is the second belt that Pereira's fighting for, so it's huge either way. And Jiri is going to channel that samurai energy against the stone hands from Pereira, where he is 5-1 with wins over Strickland and Adesanya, obviously losing his final fight versus Adesanya, but Jiri 3-0, undefeated in the UFC, and he has 1 loss since 2013. And this is going to be huge, where Jiri wants that belt back. He had it 2 years ago. I think he's going to just go with his raw power, try and counterattack Pereira, and just attack him and get angry and try and finish the fight. I wouldn't be surprised if it finished within 3 rounds, where Pereira, I think he needs to fight as a light heavyweight. If you see him against other middleweights, he is huge. He is bigger than he looks. And I think he should use that kickboxing, where his key is going to be being careful of Jiri's power, where he stands at an abnormally long distance. Instead of being in a normal reach between fighters where you're just far enough to jab and land a combo, but just far enough to evade, Pereira's secret and his success to the UFC is he's standing at a kickboxing range, which is a little bit further. It's at knuckles distance if you have 2 fully extended arms, but it is crucial to his success as he maintains that distance as a much bigger fighter over other middleweights, and he can kick and attack at ease. But his problem goes when he goes into the attack. When he gets someone like Adesanya against the cage, he's prone to counterattacks, but his stone left hand is his key to success. So this will be a huge fight, and Pereira is a slight favorite at 125 compared to Procházka's 105. And now my picks for the fight, and just as a reminder to brag, not enough yet, but in the future, at UFC 294 between Makhachev and Volk, I was 3-1-1 with me getting robbed off Johnny Walker. And I was 1-0 for my lock of the night, so hopefully that number will continue to build as this is the only second episode of the series. But at the start, we have Lopes versus Sabatini, a featherweight matchup, and I'm taking the underdog, Diego Lopes. I'm really impressed by his BJJ, and I think he's going to submit Sabatini in the second round. Could go to a decision, but I'm going out there, strong prediction. In the second fight, Frevola versus Saint-Denis. and it is a lightweight fight, and I just think Saint-Denis, his chin is too good. These guys are both veterans. They know how to brawl. I just think Saint-Denis is too good for Frevola, who's going to get cracked probably second round also. And then the third strawweight matchup, Andrade versus Mackenzie Dern. I'm giving it to Dern. She is the favorite. I think she'll catch Andrade on the ground and extend her losing streak. And then the co-main event, Pavlovich versus Aspinall, a heavyweight title fight for the vacant belt. I'm giving it to Aspinall. I've been super impressed with him. His knee injury really hurt. It hurt him more than me, definitely, but I was really upset by that because he looked so promising. I still think he's a great heavyweight. He's probably the best besides Jones and Gane if we're just going off pure technical ability. So I would say Aspinall is going to win this fight. I think maybe even on the ground. Pavlovich has been working on his ground game, but Aspinall I think is still better. So I'll say third round, submission. Surprising, but I'm calling it there. And then Procházka versus Pereira. Another fight for the vacant belt at light heavyweight this time. This is going to be a huge matchup between two powerful guys. I think Pereira is going to use that kickboxing range, stay outside of Procházka's power. Procházka might get impatient, go in, and then boom, a combo from Pereira, finishing with that stone left hand that will drop Procházka and win the fight. And then going over the prelims, just making a few picks and fights to make note of. It's a little bit of a weaker card from 294, but Emmers is a huge favorite. Joshua Van, I think, is a really exciting flyweight prospect, so that would be exciting. Jared Gordon wants another win versus a great and old wrestler, Madsen from Denmark. And Steve Erceg had a rescheduled matchup, but now against Alessandro Costa will be a fun fight. So I think those are 4 fights to look out for in the prelims, but not as strong as it could be. And welcome back to the second edition of the CJ's UFC Award Show. And we are going to be starting off with the lock of the night as usual. And this card, it is going to be Joshua Van, a 238 moneyline pick versus Kevin Borjas at 195. I think Joshua Van, the mystery man, I'm sorry, that's corny, but Joshua Van, I think, is a super underrated prospect for flyweights. He looks good for his weight. He looks bigger than other flyweights, but still really nimble and can move around fast, super athletic. And I just like his stand-up game a lot. I like what he can do on the ground. So I think he's going to be that meddling kid that will stop Borjas and take off that mask and reveal him as a fraud.
Well, if it isn't our old friend.
And the second is the story of the night, which is going to Tom Aspinall. And if he can become the new heavyweight champion, it is a huge fight against Pavlovich. But it's kind of weird because Dana is telling him that no matter what happens, if he has an amazing performance, he still might have to give up the belt to John Jones, which I think is really weird. Why even have this fight for the belt? Why not just make it a contender fight where the winner has a chance to go for the belt and beat Jones? Because no matter what happens, Jones is going to fight Stipe, probably after UFC 300. He probably won't be back in time. Probably he'll be back in next summer, 2024, fall even. Jones, let's say he wins. He still has his belt, so Aspinall is going to lose his belt either way. But I think it's going to be on to him to win the belt and prove that he's good enough. And now the last pick is the fight of the night, which is between Alex Pereira and Jiri Procházka, a samurai against a man with stone hands from Brazil. It is a huge fight. I think it'll be a fun fight, and I picked it as the fight of the night because it is two guys on great runs in the UFC. They're new to the UFC, never fought before, with great power. This will end before the final bell rings. I don't think the judges will have any say in this fight, only the stone hands and the sword from Procházka. And that concludes the award show and the video for UFC 295. So please comment down below what you guys think. I'll make sure to reach out to you. I love talking to you guys. If you agree with me, if you disagree, most likely you're going to disagree and you can argue with me. Feel free to. And leave a like if you enjoyed, and please subscribe if you want to see more. It will really help my channel out a lot. And see you next time.